Hey, welcome back to another episode of Studio84 podcast. I am Michael Scott Brennan, one of your hosts with
Vince Lazzo. How are you?
We are super excited today. We have a very special guest, Mr. Peter Hernandez. Before we get started, though, a lot of things continuing to happen out here in the industry.
Well, as a matter of fact, last night, Bella Models, our sponsor, they had their graduation. A lot of great talent came from there.
They do a full-on fashion show, so it was a lot of fun, a lot of great talent.
And he was the MC.
Yeah,
he was the MC. He got the MC, so he got to.
Doesn't surprise me.
A little stardom last night.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We had some live music guests, but we had, I hear these guys a lot. Amori's Closet. Amori Uskunga, I think is his name. He's a designer here in the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Which one was that one?
He was the fourth design that came through.
The whole Spanish, the Latino,
yes.
the Gypsy King music.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Yep.
That was grand.
He had a lot of the conquistador, or not conquistador. What do they call the bullfighter?
A bullfighter.
Bullfighter, yeah. But very, very much Spanish inspired.
Totally.
Yeah, there was Spanish Mexican, for example. Great infusion right there. But Macy's had a line. Lisa Dean Boutique was featured there. Silk Threads. So there was some really cool designers last night. A lot of fun. But it's always great. And I always tell everybody out there too. You got to get out there and network. So a lot of people and.
Did you get to stay around and network? I left pretty early because I had things to do.
Yeah, I know. We're busy people over here. But no, I like to talk to some of the people out there. Had this one guy come running up to me. He's like, yo, man, I love what you said about like some of the production going on here in Dallas. I've shot like a bunch of episodes of Landman. They keep calling me back. I'm like, that's cool. And he goes, I was on Lioness. I was like, that's awesome. He goes, yeah, background work. I'm like, yeah, man, it's time to elevate that. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, you got to take the next steps, man, start preparing. But it was really exciting to see, and it was exciting to feel the excitement in the air about what's happening in the DFW market, because there is so much stuff. And we just had Dallas Fashion Week out here, I believe, not too long ago.
Yeah, this week.
This week as well.
And, I saw on Instagram, too, they were filming in Fort Worth. What were they filming?
Lioness, from my understanding.
They closed a couple of streets. I saw it in the news.
Yes, they sure did. And it's been... it's been great because there's a lot of production. Another show just that started filming here, by the way. Of course, it's a Taylor Sheridan project as we speak. Dutton Ranch is a new one.
Yeah, he's just taking over, right?
I mean, I can't even count the amount, but good for him too. No. Taylor is doing here in Dallas what Tyler Perry did in Atlanta. Yeah, and it's provided. I mean, look where Atlanta is right now. They've got a lot of great, and it's not just the primary. The primary filming in the industry that facilitates jobs. It's all the fallout in the secondary too. I mean, you have a lot more production houses opening up. People are getting hired to come out here and have distribution houses, and acting studios are popping up. So it's giving opportunity. The film program, I've heard at one of the universities in Georgia, is really starting to pop. It's starting to grow quite a bit. I was talking to a girl that's in that program right now. So it's just really exciting to see a lot of the work.
Because a year ago, I heard when Marvel left it was slowing down in Atlanta. So it's good to know that it's picking up.
Well, hopefully it is. I mean, either that or we're absorbing some of that right now. And I know DFW, I think as a whole, probably isn't feeling it yet, but they will. And there's a little blowback there, like, I don't want all the super celebrities coming down here.
Sorry.
But then, yeah, I know, exactly.
Sorry.
But then all of a sudden people are excited. They're like, we saw Billy Bob Thornton, or we saw Demi Moore, or we saw Samuel L. Jackson, and it's like they get really excited about that kind of stuff. So it's lots been happening here. So
Totally.
Super excited about that.
All right. Well, we have Peter here. He's an actor, and I represent Peter.
What's up, guys?
So
thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. It's so early in the morning. Thanks you could wake up and with your job there.
Yeah, I'm on my second coffee for this morning.
Me too.
But I'm energized. I'm awake now because I'm with my buddies now.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I guess what I want to talk about is I represent you. I'm a manager. And management, as you know, is not something that happens in Texas. This is more of probably a Los Angeles and New York thing.
Yeah.
To have a manager. So in talking about that, how has that experience, and it seems weird me talking about myself, but I'm just going to go for it. How does that feel since you and I started working? Have you seen your career kind of go a different direction? Do you have is there like a bigger light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, you tell me. Would love to know.
It was eye-opening. It was like I had been squinting this whole time, and I didn't really see, or a lot of things I didn't really know about until you brought it to my attention. It really does, focus in on what your goals are or what your goals should be, and then how to achieve that, the path you have to go on. It's just been, it's been really great. It's helped my career, and I've gone from more auditions, commercial auditions to, these bigger roles, 2 to 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines. Sometimes I struggle with memorizing all those lines, but bigger auditions that I've ever gotten before.
For theatrical and episodics as well.
Yeah, no, totally. That's what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what he's talking
Well,
about.
Vince, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your past and like how you came in the industry and where you were before you met Vince?
Before I met Vince, it started a long time ago. I started off modeling. So I was doing more of the modeling stuff, and probably about 2-3 months into this in 1999, I believe it was.
Was this in Chicago, right?
Well, he's only 24. How does that math?
And this was in Chicago, because you're from Chicago, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. I started in Chicago. I wasn't planning on being a model or anything like that. My dreams of making it to the NBA just never came to fruition. So I was kind of headed nowhere. I was scouted by a photographer. I signed with Ford Chicago and started sending me out on castings and auditions and stuff like that. But for my first TV commercial audition, I had no idea what it was, but I knew everyone else lied in the industry, so I was like, sure, I do auditions all the time. I went to it, I was like, this is really cool. This is so much different than posing. The posing thing, there's really, other than staying in good shape, there's really not much to it. There's no studying, and I can't hone in on my craft other than like, is my jawline square enough,
That's funny.
So I started with that, and it was just a more commercial auditions. And then I kind of coasted on that for a long time until I met Vince in the summer. And my acting was kind of just right there in the middle. I kind of plateaued, and I didn't really know how to take the next step until I met Vince. And he just threw all this information, like, you have to do this if you want to get that. And he made it feel attainable. Like I could reach this. I had no idea how to get on a big screen, how to land these jobs in LA or the big jobs here in Dallas. And then he kind of showed me the way and gave me the push in the right direction and made sure I was on the right direction.
So you actually were, a full-time model and commercial actor, right? And so you kind of were plateauing out. You wanted to elevate to the next level.
Oh, absolutely.
But you just didn't know how to get there. And then, fortunately for you, Vince landed in your lap. You found you guys found each other, and then had a conversation.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is his agent here, which we had a couple of weeks back, Raphael, he introduced me to him. He set up the meeting so I could represent some of his clients. Raphael's an amazing agent here at Kim Dawson.
He's great.
So, he really, I love Raphael because he really takes care of his clients.
Right.
So thanks to Raphael that now we're working together, and many things are coming. We're actually talking to a couple agents in LA for representation. And I love that you're taking acting classes with Michael, because Michael informs me of the progress you're doing in class. That helps me, and in return, that helps me when I'm pitching you, and also to convey to your agents outside of Texas, and also Raphael, how the progression that you're making with your acting.
I was going to say that, like, those are a lot of things the industry doesn't tell you. There's no, like, how-to guidebook, how to get started, what to do. Right. These little things, the little intangibles that really help create you, you have to find out the hard way. And unfortunately, by the time a lot of these, actors find it out, they're burnt out, they've given up, you're kind of defeated.
Peter, did ego play anything for you too? Like, hey, I've been doing this, I'm successful. Why do I need to be back in class? Kind of like, did you have those kind of inner thoughts at all?
No, absolutely not. Because I do know that if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
And if I'm not practicing reading auditions, then I don't know how to break it down the right way. And that's something I learned in your class. Right. Is really, I just wanted to pick your brain and see your process to breaking down these scripts.
Yeah.
That helps more than anything.
Totally.
And I tell you, it makes my job a lot easier when you have an engaging student, or somebody you're working with who wants to learn, is like, hey, I'm going to stick after class here, but I need to ask you a couple of questions.
And one thing I have to say about Peter and working with Peter, he's been very humble, which is for a manager, that's something that you want as an artist, because they're easy to manage, easy to mentor. And working with Peter, what I like working with Peter, and I kind of wish everybody was like this, he takes direction, he listens. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, it's kind of interesting because, I always think, wow, if I was an actor and I had a manager, how would I feel? I always put myself in your shoes. And when I tell Peter, because sometimes he'll tell me, this is a lot of stuff, and I'm like, you need to slow down, take advantage of your acting coach, it's going to be okay, you got this.
Yeah.
And Peter always says, you're right, I needed to hear that. And I think for me as a manager, it makes me feel great because I think it's just amazing because then he turns in the audition and he's given the audition to the best, and it's a great audition, you know? So I love to see the progress that you make and the humbleness that you bring. Because I think a true artist is someone who's humble. And when you're humble, you tend to allow the universe to come to you in the world of artistry. Because you allow, there's no walls. You're allowing everything to just sink in and run with it. Yeah. So it's been great working with him. In fact, he's one of the clients that I really enjoyed working with in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Let me ask you, Vince, when you go back to that first meeting that Raphael introduced you to, and you work with a lot of agencies too.
Right.
It's not just Kim Dawson, although they are great and brilliant at what they do. I have to imagine you're not taking on every client that every agent introduces you to. What were some things about Peter that when you first met really stuck out to you, like that first meeting, that first interview?
Well, what stuck out is...
Be nice.
He wanted, you could tell he had a hunger to really know the industry.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me. Like he asked a lot of the right questions, and some of those questions were questions that normally people that are green will ask, but someone like me, that we're used to working with people that are green, as we call them in LA.
Right.
We want to ripe them up. We want to make them seasonal.
Right.
So a season. And then he had a charm, and he was witty, and he's a good-looking leading guy, being Latino, although he can play Caucasian, that was already something that I needed. Yeah. So he brought a lot to the table, Caucasian Latino, he's Latino, but he's light-skinned Latino, Mexican-American. So all those things, that I took into consideration. And of course, his attitude, he had an attitude to really want to excel. And then he came highly recommended by his agent. His agent really wants me to help him, really excel, nationally and possibly internationally.
It's so great to hear too, because, from time to time you hear about those actors that have been with an agency for a long time, and maybe they're a little stagnant at that point in time, and they get a chip on their shoulder or something, and they don't reinforce positivity with the team that's surrounding them. So it's hard for them to expand on their team to get them to that next level. So just kudos, Peter, hearing
Appreciate
about
that. Thank you, guys.
Never burning that bridge, but always having a positive attitude, especially about the people that you're working with right there. Obviously, if this is one of those dream teams, and we're expecting big things, but time will tell. But when it comes, so. It just reiterates, takeaways, being humble, not letting ego get in the way, having that desire to learn, no matter at what point that you are in your career. And I promise you, there's probably a lot of people out there right now that would love to be in the position that you're in, and you've put in a ton of hard work where you are booking all of the time, and being able to sustain, as you're from modeling and even now, where you are, you've been doing this, you threw out 99. So that's 27 years that you've been in this industry. And I know talking to you from past experience as well, you didn't just sit on your laurels and wait for things to come to you. You what? Like when you were in Chicago, you knew December was a slow, or November, December. I remember this conversation. November, December in Miami, people like slow down. I call it turkey coma time because, people are like already thinking about, it's called a holiday, not a holiday or a holiday month, but everybody always ends up taking a lot of time. So what, you went down and went down to Miami and just.
You went to Europe too, right?
I went to Europe on my own.
Oh, yeah. And you just like absorbed all of the work that everybody else was like already taking time off with family and everything just to get some extra work in.
I've kind of always taken that approach this is my brand. This is, I have my manager working for me. We work as a team. My agent works for me. We're a team, but I have to do my part on my own. I can't just sit around.
So important.
And,
Very important.
They're going to give X amount of money, and it's usually a lot of money to somebody to look apart. I'm gone, like I'm going to go where the work is, and I'm going to go before the work really starts, and I'm going to stay a couple weeks after to get those last minute jobs, and just so the casting directors and they remember you, and they remember how Peter was here when nobody else was here, and it worked for me. It went a long way. I stayed humble, and you can never know enough. I'm always trying to learn and steal ideas and steal that audition, like you did that was genius. I'm gonna steal it, put it in my pocket, and I'll make it my own.
That's Peter. I love Peter. The reason I wanted to have this session with Peter was basically because, like I said before, management is really new to the Texas area. Mm-hmm. Although where you and I come from, like I said, management still exists. And as I asked you earlier, you said you had a manager at one point in LA. Managers are important, and a lot of people always ask, when is the best time to get a manager? Well, my question to that is, it kind of varies, because some people in LA says, I don't need a manager until I'm on a show. Well, okay, true. But my experience has been, I think people that are starting should get a manager, because the agent is pretty much just procuring work. Their job is to get auditions and procure work. A manager, on the other hand, is going to take you from A to Z, is going to map everything out, the business side. When you do get on a show, they're going to get you a lawyer, the stylist, an accountant, get all the paperwork lined up, incorporate you, and all those things that need to happen. So, and a manager also gets auditions. Some don't, but a lot of the managers that I deal with that are friends of mine in LA and stuff, they also get auditions. But what they do, they create kind of a team for you. Like a manager is someone that if you're new to the industry, a manager will put you in the right class with the right acting coach, and then once that acting coach relates to him, okay, he's ready to audition, which you did that to me this week with one of my other clients. Then I know it's time to set you up with a couple agents, which we're doing in LA.
Yes, sir.
So it's placing you with the right agent, because I'm talking to agents and I'm talking to casting directors on a daily basis. So I know what they're looking for. So when you rise above the water and you're ready to start auditioning, then I know what agents is going to be a perfect fit for you.
Yeah. And also too, Vince, I would say, and this does apply to Texas as well, but even in Los Angeles, if you're out there independently and you've been able to procure maybe an agency, a theatrical agent, or usually starts with a commercial agent or a print agent, but a lot of times some of those agencies don't have theatrical divisions, or they do have a theatrical division, but they don't want to see you yet because they don't see that you're ready. Maybe you have a voiceover agent that's a completely different agency. So even having a manager early on helps coordinate between all of those, because what happens when, agents will sometimes take offense, even though you have maybe a double booking, which is good news. But if you have a voiceover audition and a print audition the same day, which one's going to take priority? And your manager is there to help facilitate.
The manager's the one that does that. He gets the time frame. He tries to move things around, try not to lose his job, talks to the agent. Hey, he's booked this day, the 17th. Or is there any wiggle time that he can come later in the evening, or maybe work on the 18th?
Well, even here, I had a student and I met him on set because we were working together here in Dallas on a print/commercial job. And he's like, I really want to get into acting. And he was with the Campbell agency out here. And I was like, okay, cool. He had no experience, came and took my class. And I felt that he did really well. So I actually made a phone call on his behalf. I was kind of acting in Vince's situation, but I called one of the acting the talent agents at his agency got him the audition, and he actually crushed that audition. A month and a half later, he booked his first speaking role on Landman.
That's awesome.
So it's having that team surrounding you that's able to do that, which I think is phenomenal.
And a lot of times too is it's a little hard for someone as an actor, like they're trying to look for agents. Agencies, because I was an agent in LA. We don't really have time to look at new talent. We normally have assistants that say, hey, look and see who's submitted this week. And then if you see someone who resonates that we feel that we need in the agency, bring to my attention.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier when you have a manager who has friends that are agents to say, hey, so-and-so, like Michelle at HRI, who I'm talking to, hey, girl, I have her cell phone. Hey, did you get my client's stuff? Talk to me. We want to work. Don't you want to make money? It's more of a personal thing.
Yep.
It's not like, co-sending or pitching from an actor to an agent, which normally they don't even, unless you have credits, a lot of credits, they won't acknowledge you. So it's a lot easier for an agent to get you in the door with casting, who has relationships. And I'm not just saying this to my own horn, but some of the best managers, and I can say this, because I've experienced, were people that were agents.
Yeah.
Why? Because they have those relationships with casting, and they know the contracts, and they know the deals that are happening with the union.
Yep.
So those are the best managers. And I can say, like, a lot of my friends that are managers, a lot of them were agents, and they're great. And they're great at what they do because they think like an agent. Like, sometimes I have clients complaining about an agent. So I'm the middle guy. I'm always trying to figure out, okay, I got the story from the agent. Now I'm hearing my client. So I need to make a conclusion of what's going on here. So it's my job to figure it out. And like, I have a client right now, which who's always complaining about the agent, but I know what's going on in LA. So I'm always like, we're okay. It's all good.
Yep.
And then the agent says, is this person going to drop me? No, you're okay. Yeah. It's good. So I'm the guy that's always trying to keep things, peaceful.
Well, to that point, Peter, can you talk a little bit about your experience? Like, I know as well as a performer who has representation, your agent's not always accessible to you. So how is the accessibility to Vince been when you've been on set, or if you come up with an issue? How is that a little different than talking to your agent out there?
Well, that's actually a great question. And this is all going to come back to doubling down on why it's good to have that manager as early as you possibly can.
Okay.
Now, I get it. Your agents are representing, because hopefully you go with one of the best agencies, but they also represent the best talent. And there's a giant wall of talent that they have to represent. So I understand my agents aren't always accessible. And that's where your manager comes along, because I might have to text them 10 to 12 times in a row, but I know eventually he's going to get back.
Which he does sometimes.
Yeah. But hey, squeaky wheel gets the oil,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He gets my attention.
And it's great to have opinions from multiple people, someone who can break it down for you, because you're dealing with a negative aspect in this job as far as you're being rejected. You're not being rejected. You're just not the right fit for the job, but you take it as rejection. And you have to have that thick skin, and you're not getting it, and you're reading the audition, and the whole time you're doing it, you're like, oh, I read it this way. And then you talk to your manager, you talk to the acting coach, you're like, no, it's like this. And then you have to start all over again. It's real easy to quit. And having this group, this team helps you to stay focused. They say the right words to you to keep your confidence up, to keep it realistic, and to let you know, like, hey, you're doing great, but we've got to tweak some things, as opposed to saying, no, that's wrong, that sucks, it's terrible. They don't use those kind of words, and you need that. If you want to succeed in this, you have to have the right team around you. Your manager's going to send you to the right acting coach, because there's some people here in this industry who kind of like have no heart or no emotion, and it's just, and sometimes you need that human, that, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Yeah, where it feels real, it's realistic, but they're telling you in a nicer way.
You need that voice that you can trust.
Yeah, that's really what it is, and it really helps. And any question you have, like, You've done great at answering my questions, or you'll tell me to call Michael or text Michael. I feel like I have a team. I feel like I have people in my corner that are rooting for me, along with my agent who's pretty good at getting back to me all the time. But again, I know he's busy, and if he wasn't and he was able to get back to me all the time, then I'd be like, damn, aren't you booking anybody for anything?
So who do you call first, like if you have an issue on set?
On set, I usually call whoever booked me that job, because I know it's like signing contracts. I know, from doing this for so long, I take a picture, I send it, and it's like, am I okay to sign this? Is this okay? Because I know that I don't understand any of that, the lingo on paper, and it's real small. My eyesight's starting to go out. I didn't bring my readers with me.
Right.
So I send it to my manager, to my agent, and I wait for their feedback.
Yeah.
And usually everyone has the same feedback, and something's a little bit different here, and it's great to always have different perspectives so that you can create your own opinion on it, and you can kind of, deliver and say whatever it is the way you want to, but with a little bit of Vince on there, a little bit of Michael on there, Raphael on there.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to work because they're all winners. They've all been succeeding in this industry.
So having those voices that you can trust is very important. I was listening on my way here. I was listening to a podcast of a casting director, and little things that people really don't know. She was telling me, I always go on Actors Access, and it goes back to the kid who did all that extra work. Mm-hmm. And she goes, one thing that just drives me bonkers, she said bunkers, so she must be from New York, and she was over 60, is when you go on there and you look at the resume and they have all these freaking commercials.
Yep.
It's like, don't they know that Actors Access is a theatrical? It's not a commercial. So why in the hell would I want to know what kind of commercial they booked? That's not even in my arena. She goes, so automatically I'm like, okay, this person doesn't get it. Next. So little things like that managers will check and make sure that it can cost you an audition, you know?
Yeah.
It can.
And Vince, before I met you, on my Actors Access, I had like 1,000 commercials on there because I didn't know, and it really helps polish you up.
Yeah, well, not to cut you off, but I mean, you're absolutely right. And, it's one of the frustrating things about this industry, too, is even though there's a ton of people that teach acting, I'm going to go back to my program at Texas Tech, for example. Love the school. Amazing program. They're actually one of the fewer PhD theatrical programs that are in the nation. But, when it came down to professional work, they really, in my opinion, didn't tell you how to get the job. They kind of taught you how to act. They didn't tell you really, they teach you how to write a resume, but they don't know the little insights about, for example, hey, you're auditioning for film and television, put your film and television credits on there. Even if they're smaller, they don't really need to. Now, I know people are trying to fill up a resume to make it look like they're, super busy. But you want to put professional work first, and then.
So they don't teach you the business side.
Well, they say they do, but they don't. Because I felt really unprepared when I got out there. And I personally had already started pursuing my professional career before I got my degree. And so I had some influence and feedback from casting directors and agents, through a venue called the Model and Talent Expo, which I'm still a part of today. But I was already getting some of that education too. So it's hard to navigate, to your point, Peter, this industry. And even people that teach or coach acting in certain, areas like Dallas, Fort Worth, call it Austin, call it Atlanta. There are professionals out there that know that information, but there's a lot of people that don't. And I'm guilty of this right now. I used to say those who can't do teach, which is not the truth. Look at myself, but I'm here now. But, I find a lot of satisfaction in giving back and working with people that are aspiring to be in there. But, there are a lot of people that have only gotten into the teaching side of things without having the professional side of things. And I find that there's a lot of miscommunication that's provided. They have good information too, don't get me wrong, but I find that there's a lot of misguided information when it comes to it, and teaming up with like a Vince Lazzo. And Vince, I mean, not to float your ego too much over here, but you're amazing at what you do. And Vince, for everybody out there, Vince gives back so much to the people that he works with and has so much information. So it's so awesome to hear about how that started transitioning your career right now with working with Vince.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, like another little thing is like they teach you how to book the job, how to get the job. All right, what about the etiquette on set? Like you have to act a certain way. You have to, and how do you know this? You show up and you're like a deer in headlights. Oh my God, oh my God. You know, but there's also like, you've got to play it cool, man. You got to know how to act. You got to know, you know, you can't just wear sweatpants and show up. You know, you got to dress and look the part. You know, there's so much to this acting game that that's why you're always learning.
And there's a difference between showing up as a commercial actor on set and showing up to a major production on Paramount or Warner Brothers or Netflix, or whatever the series. Yeah, and knowing how to navigate who to communicate with, who are your go-to people that when you get out there, and when you start doing it enough, no problem. It's like, you know, riding a bike, but, you know, the first couple of times. And a lot of actors, I feel, forget that they are an extension of their management team and their agency team too. You represent them as much as they represent you. And so if you're stepping out of line, you may call into question their reputation, and that's can be detrimental.
You know, there's so much truth to that, because back when I was in LA, I would get casting directors that would call me and they're like, "We saw so-and-so. He's your client." Yeah. Yeah. I can always tell Vince Lazzo's clients. And I'm like, "Really?" "Yes, I can always tell your clients." Yeah. I'm like, "Well, thank you. Thank you very much." He goes, "Yeah, they're very polished and they're very well together." And I'm like, "Well, you know, I want them to book the job. I want them to do the best, because I know they have what it takes."
Yep.
So, you know, I always believe in being the best. I always push my clients to really aim high. You know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And even if it has to do with color, you know, if they're looking for a Caucasian or whatever, don't let that intimidate you. You know, let them see the artistry. Mm-hmm. Let them see the acting ability that you have. Because for me, art has no color.
Right.
And I know when I was an agent, they were looking for a Caucasian. I sent an African American. The agent was a friend of mine, says, "Are you colorblind?" "No." Because I'm thinking acting, and this person has all these qualities to book this job. So that casting director saw my client. Guess what? The client booked it.
Nice.
That person calls, says, "You were right." And I'm like, "Yeah," because talent has no color.
Right.
And I tell a lot of my people of color, don't let that be something that's going to hinder you. Because if you go into it thinking, "I'm not white enough, I'm not black enough, I'm not brown enough,"
right,
you're already putting walls up. You're out of the game.
Yeah, your job is to show up and do the best job that you can, not analyze.
And let them go, "Wow,
yeah,
this was amazing."
Well, and going back to, you know, something that we brought up, you know, there's a saying out there, how you do the little things is how you do everything.
Exactly.
Right? And so paying attention to detail, one of the things that we talk about in acting class is specificity, the specifics on anything that you do when you're creating a character, when you're breaking down a script. The little specifics are going to be what is going to set you apart from a lot of other people.
So true.
And that just goes within life as well, you know? So how you do the little things is how you do everything.
So true to that.
Yeah. So. And that's what having a great manager and a great coach, those kind of things, that's what helps you and it sets you apart. Because you can, I mean, I can see it as on the talent side, that dude, he's doing a great job, or she's doing a great job. Right. And then you can see the other ones who are kind of like, they're looking around. There's a level of like they're sort of lost, like they just don't know, or it's never been brought to their attention. So I'm grateful for all the representation, guys.
So, you know, Michael, I was just thinking. I'm sorry. I was just thinking. You know, and listening to Peter. You know, the thing of you and I living in LA and getting all that experience, and then coming back to Texas, dude, it seems like we're doing something fun here. I mean, great, because just hearing the voice that we're bringing all that expertise and now using it in the Texas market, which you and I are from Texas, so giving back to our community. And, you know, I think I always, because even in LA, I always gave back to my community. Yeah. You know, so it's great to now do the same thing to the city that I was born, you know? It's just great to help people in this space in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So you saying what you're saying about us is thank you, because
we definitely appreciate that.
It's something that we want to do.
And we want to see Texas, I mean, you know, you had mentioned this earlier, you've mentioned this in the past, we've definitely inferred it several times, but you know, even though there's all this production and everything that's happening in Texas right now, there's still an edge that LA actors carry over some of the Texas actors. Not everybody, but for sure some of them. And it's a mindset. really, because there's some very talented people. I'm very proud of the Texan actors and actresses that are out there, the models, what we have to offer. But there is a mindset difference, and if it's one of the few goals that we have, it's definitely resetting that mindset that some of the Texans have. It's about how you're going to get out there and get after it. I love the desire. You don't wait around for anything. You make things happen for you. And that's the mindset that you have to have. Checking your ego and knowing that just because you completed one acting program or you have a degree in it does not mean you're the end all and be all. I like having ego and confidence, but not to the detriment of not moving forward or thinking you're the best thing out there, because there's always...
You're only as good as your last job. So if you're working today, tomorrow, you're yesterday's news.
Yeah.
Pretty much. We spend more of our time unemployed than we spend employed.
It's true. There's a lot to be said about that. So just awesome. Peter, what's next for you, bro?
Hopefully one of these auditions that I just have done in the past week or two books. But honestly, next is going to be the same thing. It's kind of a routine that I'm trying to get into, and I try to. If I don't have a script that I'm reading for an audition right now, I grab an old script and I just start recording myself because I want to stay on top of the game. I don't want to get rusty, and you get rusty in this, the camera picks it up. You mentioned the confidence thing and not having an ego, but not having an ego. It's a delicate balance, but I know. You've got to be confident, but not arrogant and cocky. Because I know that camera loves confidence.
Yep.
And the casting directors and directors, they love that level of confidence, but not like, my shit don't stink. That level. So I think it's just working on sharpening those tools to get me there and to just be ready for the next audition.
And don't forget to mention, we're trying to get your representation in Los Angeles and New York. So Los Angeles and in New York. So
and then it's international after that, baby.
I'm just trying to stay ready. But I did want to touch base on something you guys mentioned about what you're bringing here and all that. There's, from my point of view, there really has been I've lived here in Dallas now for 10 years, 11 years, and I just don't feel like there is a community here, an actor community. And that's
about this.
One thing that I wanted to say you guys have done a great job of is bringing that. And hey, you guys got to reach out to everyone in your class, and that really helps because, I know in the modeling world, it's kind of like you're always looking someone up and down. You're maybe not making friends as much as you need to in acting, because I need somebody to read for me. I need someone to record it for me. Somebody to give me a different perspective on how did you read the script, and that really didn't exist. And, I've done it in LA. You go to LA, you go to a cafe, there's 55 actors there that are ready to help, working on the same script. And you kind of, there's just a community out there in Chicago, Miami. You have that here in Dallas. I just don't know.
They forget.
That's going to change.
Yeah, it is going to change. We're working to change that. I was talking, I think it was in class the other day, we were talking about the audition for The Outsiders, way back in the day. And it was such an ensemble cast of such a large, phenomenal group of actors. I mean, we had Patrick Swayze, Ralph Macchio, you had Tom Cruise, you had Emilio Estevez. I mean, Diana Lane was in that. There was just so many amazing actors, and everybody who was everybody at that time auditioned. And Coppola, just his audition process was crazy. I love going back and watching interviews about this. But my point is all of these actors, if you looked at everybody that was in there and then talked to some of the other really prolific actors who have made it, they formed a community, right? And you go back and you look at these John Hughes films from like the 80s, and you have like the Brat Pack, right? And that group of that talent of actors who are now in their 60s, look at that community that came up, and they knew there was something special within that group, that they were going to do something, and they always encouraged each other. Are there beefs and riffs? Of course there
Absolutely.
are. Yes, to your point, when you're an actor or a model, you're going out in the audition and you see the same guys in that room constantly over and over again, yeah, they're their competition. But more importantly, if you can work with them, people see that chemistry, and all of a sudden, it starts translating to the people behind the camera, the producers, the casting directors. They start seeing that community come out.
Such a great point.
And it is so important. And yeah, I'm a huge advocate of it. I know Vince and I have talked about it. I love hearing that, that's something that's kind of sticking with you right now. With our ongoing class at the moment, that's one thing I'm really emphasizing and hitting home with the smaller group that we have. And I'd rather have a smaller group right now than a huge elusive group. If we have a committed group of people that can call each other and start working and picking up. And sometimes, you're as successful as the top. You're usually as successful as the 5 most successful people around you, right? And this is a Patrick Bet-David thing. Was one of my mentors, and he used to say, like, if you're sitting in a room and you're the most successful guy in there, you're still only making 5 figures. It's time to find a different group of people, even though they might be really good friends. But Patrick always said he would rather be the least successful guy in a group of 5 people so he can elevate himself to their stature and learn.
Instead of being the teacher.
Right. And so sometimes, if you're in a class that you're the star in and you're looking around and nobody has an agent, nobody's auditioning, it just may be time to make a change. No disrespect to that instructor or anything. Sometimes with an agency, it's the same thing. Maybe it's a boutique agency and you're the top guy, but you're not getting the bigger production roles. Have a conversation with your manager. Maybe it's time to make a change. Be the least successful guy around the 5 other people that are in the room or the 4 other people in that room, and you'll continually elevate yourself. And again, it's mindset training.
So true.
Yeah,
so true.
It's just another opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
I had a younger guy. I call him a kid because he's like 2 years older than my oldest child.
Right.
And he called me and he's like, "Hey, do you think I could you read for me? And then do you think I could use your setup in my studio? I have this gym. I own this gym and I have a giant white wall and I turned that into my acting studio as well." Right. So he came over and I set up my lights and hooked up my mic on him and kind of worked on the opposite side of the camera. And it's like, I learned so much. I got to watch. I got to see little things that he doesn't know he was doing. Like, hey, this is happening. It's just another opportunity to learn, to help you become better at your craft, to awesome. Really know the front and back and side and up and above and everything on that camera, so that you're ready for whatever audition comes next.
Great.
It's phenomenal.
Well, this was great.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Peter, we're going to be keeping tabs on you, man. Looking forward to it. I want to after maybe his next big successful booking on a theatrical side right here, probably have you back in, talk about the experience on that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So we can hear, how it differentiates, and we're going to be keeping tabs on you, man.
I'm always available for you guys.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
So, Peter.
Appreciate it, man.
Love it, man.
Thank you, guys.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you guys so much.
Everybody out there with Studio84 Podcast, make sure you're checking us out down below, checking out the socials. If you haven't done it already, YouTube, like and subscribe. Keep sending the likes. We hear you. We want to hear back from you. Hear the feedback. Check out Vince Lazzo. Check out Michael S. Brennan Acting. Studio84 Podcast. We're super excited to hear from you. By the way, we've got some announcements coming up. We're not going to drop right now, but we are sending some teasers out there because we've got some big things on the horizon, especially for the people here in Texas.
Exciting.
Dude,
big stuff.
We got some
big stuff.
We're giving back to Texas.
Big stuff.
That's what we're saying. We want to give back to some Texas.
If you don't know who we are, you will.
Yeah,
trust me.
Absolutely. So get in now, really like and subscribe, and make sure that you're giving us some feedback as well. Until next time, we love you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Bella Models, our studio here.
Absolutely.
Which had a great show graduation last night. Want to always say holla holla.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got some collaboration stuff with the Bella Modeling School that we're going to be
Good
starting
stuff is going to be happening
soon, very soon. So,
alrighty.
Awesome. Until next time, you guys stay strong. A lot of pride for Texas. Love it. Keep driving out there, and we look forward to hearing from you.